There is a moment. Not everyone has it at the same age. Not everyone has it in the same way. But almost everyone who has ever truly changed their relationship with money can point to one specific moment where something shifted, where they looked at their life honestly and realized that the way they had been thinking about money was completely backwards. For some people, it happens in their 20s. For some, it happens in their 40s. For some, it happens when they are sitting at a job they hate, watching the clock, waiting for a paycheck that will be gone before the next one arrives. And they think, is this it? Is this what the rest of my life looks like? Trading my time for money, that disappears. So I can come back and trade more time for more money. That disappears over and over until I am too old to trade any more time at all. That moment is the beginning of everything. Let me explain what is actually happening in that moment. Most people in America have one relationship with money. They work, they earn, they spend, they work again. Time goes in, money comes out, money goes away, time goes in again. It is a trade, an ongoing trade between the hours of your life and the dollars in your account. And here's the problem with that trade. Time is finite. There are only so many hours in a day, only so many years in a career, only so much of yourself you can give before there is nothing left to give, which means there is a ceiling on how much you can earn, on how far that trade can take you. And for most people, that ceiling is not high enough. Not high enough to build real security. Not high enough to build real freedom. Not high enough to ever truly stop trading. Now here is the concept that changes everything. There are two types of income in the world. The first type is active income. This is the income most people have. You work. You get paid. You stop working. The income stops. Your time directly produces your money. One for one. Every time. The second type is called passive income. This is income that comes in, whether you are working or not. Money that is not tied directly to your hours. Income that continues even when you are sleeping. Even when you are on vacation. Even when you are sick. Even when you simply choose not to work that day. The difference between these two types of income is the difference between financial stress and financial freedom. And the path from one to the other is built through one thing: assets. Now let us talk about what an asset actually is. An asset is simply something that puts money in your pocket, not something that costs you money to own, something that generates money for you, investments that grow and produce returns, property that generates rental income, a business that runs without requiring your constant presence, something you created once that keeps earning long after you made it. These are assets. And here is the shift that changes everything. Most people spend their entire lives working for money, trading time for dollars. The people who build real financial freedom spend their time and energy building and acquiring assets, so that eventually those assets work for them. Instead of them working for money, money works for them. Now here is what most people misunderstand about this concept. They think it requires being rich to start. That building assets is something wealthy people do with money they already have. But that is not how most people who built financial freedom got there. They started exactly where most people start, with a regular income and a decision to think differently about what to do with it. Instead of spending everything they earned, they consistently redirected a portion of it toward things that would eventually work for them. A small investment every month that compounded over years into something significant. A rental property bought carefully when the numbers made sense. That generated income every single month. The assets started small, almost invisible in the beginning. But assets compound just like interest does. One investment generates returns. Those returns get reinvested, which generates more returns, which get reinvested again. Slowly at first, then faster still, until one day, the income coming from assets starts to rival the income coming from work, and then exceeds it, and the trade changes. You are no longer working because you have to. You are working because you choose to. That is the difference. Not between rich and poor, between people who understood this early and people who did not. Now let me talk about the most important step, the one that most people skip, because it is uncomfortable. Before you can start building assets, you have to stop consuming everything you earn. That does not mean suffering. It does not mean cutting every pleasure from your life. It means creating a gap between what you earn and what you spend, and protecting that gap consistently. Because that gap is the seed money for everything. Every asset that ever works for anyone started as money that was not spent, money that was redirected from consumption today to assets that produce tomorrow. The size of the gap matters less than most people think. What matters is that the gap exists, and that it is protected consistently. Over time, even a small consistent gap, redirected toward assets every single month, builds into something extraordinary over a long enough period. Now let me bring this all together. Most people work for money their entire lives. Not because they are not smart, not because they are not hardworking, not because they are not trying, but because nobody ever explained the difference between working for money and making money work for you. The shift is not dramatic. It does not happen overnight. It does not require a windfall or a lucky break. It requires one decision: to start building things that work for you, even while you keep working yourself, to redirect a portion of what you earn toward assets that will eventually make the trade optional. Not everyone gets there, but everyone who does started with exactly one thing: a decision to think differently about money, and the willingness to act on that decision consistently over a long enough period of time. That is the whole story, and now you know it. If this shifted something for you today, if something in this video made you see your relationship with money differently, hit that like button, because that shift, that moment of seeing things clearly, is exactly where everything starts. This channel exists to create those moments. Every single week, we pull back the curtain on the financial concepts that actually change how people live, not the surface-level tips, the deep stuff, the ideas that once understood, you cannot unsee. If that is what you are here for, subscribe right now, turn on notifications, and come back next week. Because the people who stay with this channel are the ones who look back years from now and remember exactly when their thinking about money changed. This might be that moment for you. I will see you next week.